Jack, I would love to start the discussion with you with the recent trends we are seeing when it comes to crypto hedge funds. Where were we in 2024 and 2023? And where do you think we are heading in 2025 in terms of major trends we are seeing?
Well, I think, as we all know, 2024 was a transformational year, was it not? Began the year with the introduction of the ETFs, and that's made an enormous difference. We ended the year with a new president just about to come in, and everything that he has expressed about the digital assets industry. So massively transformational. I think when I bring that into the digital asset and crypto hedge fund world, I think it is one they profited enormously in last year. I think they did extremely well. The returns that we've seen, particularly on a risk-adjusted basis, have been very attractive for their investors. So lots of opportunity, lots to be excited about. So here we are in February 2025, and I think the enthusiasm is plain for all to see of what the opportunity is going forward.
When you look at the industry, you've been in the hedge fund industry for many years. When you look at the crypto hedge fund industry today, compared to the TradFi crypto hedge fund industry, where do you think we are? Are we in the 1990s of the traditional hedge fund industry? Are we later on? Where do you think we are in the evolution of the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I was around in the very early 1990s when the hedge fund industry was clearly not the size that it is today. And it's something I often think about, is that where's the digital, are there parallels, are there similarities with in the digital hedge fund industry, the digital assets hedge fund industry, that is similar to that of the hedge fund industry? And I think there absolutely, definitely are. And I think some of the things I would point to were, I mean, if I look at the crypto dedicated hedge funds that have established themselves, and there are a couple of hundred at least of those out there at the moment, many of those come from a hedge fund and alternative investment background. So they're really made that leap. And Henri, you know this better than anyone else. You also go back to the traditional hedge fund world. So that is very much a sort of something I think to take note of. From a size similarity, yes, the hedge fund industry began very small, but I remember visiting some really nascent hedge funds back in the very early 1990s, and they've grown into huge multi-billion, multi-strategy firms now. But one thing that really struck me even back then is that they were determining their early investment strategies with the use of technology even back then in the early 1990s.
Yeah.
So technology-based, I think there are definitely some similarities there. And then I think the other thing is what are the kind of trading opportunities? In the very early days of the hedge fund industry, there were some things which by modern standards were very simple, very clear arbitrage opportunities, which today you wouldn't know how could they exist. But in the crypto world, I think some of those things have been around in the past few years that firms have been able to exploit.
So let me ask you this. To what extent are we seeing that hedge funds and the TradFi scheme are actually going into investing in crypto?
So we look at this and have looked at it annually now for 6 years and published a report on it with PwC. And full shout out to you, Henri, because I think you were one of the instigators of that when you ran the crypto practice at PwC before doing what you do now. So we've been running that for 6 years, and we've been able to measure the progress over time. And the most recent version of that, which we published last year, showed really quite a sharp leap of the adoption of crypto somewhere within the traditional hedge fund strategies year on year from 2023. So we found that almost half of traditional hedge funds now are using crypto in some shape or form in their portfolios. And that's up from below 30% just a year prior. So I think just that data point itself gives you a sense of that progress.
And what do you think, Jack, is required to get more traditional hedge funds enter the crypto space? Is it regulatory clarity? Is it better infrastructure? What do you think could be the catalyst to see that 50% increase?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Henri. And so again, one of those questions that we ask when we do this report. And what's been consistent year on year out of what the biggest challenge and indeed the biggest barrier to further growth in terms of the way they want to adopt crypto into their strategies has been the lack of regulatory clarity, the quagmire that we've seen, particularly in the United States, which hopefully is going to be sorted out. But that has always been cited as the number one barrier. I think the second one, which really became evident that we saw last year, is that a number of people responding in the traditional hedge fund space saying, we actually have carve-out exclusion of not including crypto in our investment mandate. So they're actually prohibited by mandate to do it. Now, you can go and renegotiate a mandate as the opportunities arise. So that is overcomable, just as the regulatory sort of uncertainty and lack of clarity that we've been experiencing in recent years.
Thank you so much, Jack, for joining us today. That was with us, Mr. Jack Inglis, CEO of AIMA.
Are your children prepared for the future of money? Order Decoding Crypto with Henri and Hodler, the #1 new release kids book on Amazon.